Well, I guess we can start with Saturday stuff. I hadn't even looked at the NFL news.
of what we saw right there was just horrible.
Well, I mean, it was terrible in the sense of it wasn't a competitive game.
No.
It was terrible in this. I don't want to say that TCU didn't belong in there because I think there were moments where they looked really good. But I think what we really saw in this game was we saw the emergence of possibly the greatest college football team of all times. You can make the argument for that LSU team from what was it 2019?
Yep.
And I'm here for that discussion because and even some of these Alabama teams, but this is the first time we've ever seen a school go back to back in the college football playoff.
That's right.
That's more games. It's 15 games that Georgia's played each of the last 2 years. You know, and they've only lost one game in that time.
That's right.
We saw Stetson Bennett go 18 of 25, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Like all those boneheaded plays that he made against Ohio State, none of that in this game. Right. So, I mean, it seems to me that even though they struggled against Ohio State, they did what they were supposed to do, and they went and they studied and they improved and they cleaned up the mistakes.
Boy, and it was just – but I guess the thing about that is that they were so dominant. It honestly made – because here's what really came out of that. What was one thing we heard out of that? Well, this is why the college football playoffs are a joke, and this is why it needs to go back to the old ways of just put number 1 and number 2 together. You heard a lot of that after this game because of it, and I don't think TCU is that bad of a football team.
Because Michigan's a pretty good football team, and they beat them.
Exactly.
You know?
I think TCU coming off that huge high of beating Michigan, and it was a
massive upset win.
Because I don't think anybody expected it. I think that was everything they had was then. And once Georgia started punching them in the face, there was just no responding from that. So I don't think it was as world-ending as people want to make it out to be. I still think the college football playoff system is the best system we have right now. I never.
And it's expanding.
It is. So now that you see this, you can say other teams have their shots. I think it's a win for football lovers everywhere.
Right.
Now, from your old school college football purists, they're always going to be butthurt about something. I think this is one of those things
that
they'll do.
The college football way of establishing a national champion has never been perfect.
No.
At any point, it has never been perfect.
No.
This is about as close to perfect as you can get, though. If you have a playoff and
let them prove it on the field.
Yeah. Just go up there. This is why we want this, so there can be no questions about it.
That's right. So if you're so great, win.
And if Georgia's the number 1 team going into the playoff and they're the national champion coming out of it, then what was supposed to happen happened.
Exactly.
Do you think Georgia loses if Michigan played in that game?
I don't. Georgia's just too good. Georgia is just too good. And I love because the other thing that was actually funny coming out of it, it was one going in before it, but, Stetson Bennett being 38 years old and playing college football, right. Going in there. And people are so salty about that, but I don't know why.
And I heard something today. No, it was yesterday. Guy was talking about, well, is Stetson Bennett even worth drafting at 25 years old? I was like, yeah.
I would
the
say
Carolina Panthers drafted Chris Winkie, and he was 30.
That's right.
The Cleveland Browns drafted Brandon Whedon. He was 26.
Exactly.
This isn't – I think all Stetson Bennett has done is improved the probability of him getting drafted. Because, he walked on to Georgia.
Yep.
Everyone knows the story at this point. He walked on to Georgia. He left. He went to a JUCO, came back to Georgia, took over the job, won back-to-back national titles. I think going into this year, he probably had a 7th round grade on him. A 7th round to priority free agent. That's probably what he was realistically looking at. And I think all he's done, him and Max Duggan both for TCU. Because I think Max Duggan was playing at a JUCO in Iowa.
Yes.
At the beginning of 2022, before he transferred to TCU. And so I think both of these guys have improved their draft stock to probably middle of the draft. Round 3, round 4, round 5, somewhere in there. I think is a realistic area for both of these quarterbacks to end up going.
And look, how long does it take normally for a quarterback to develop in the NFL? And a lot of that time is just maturity between the ears. You're seeing a lot of that already from Stetson Bennett as he's, especially with his age and being around football and who he's learning under. So I don't think that you're losing anything development-wise
Right.
of him going into the NFL.
Well, and I think the reason Stetson Bennett even left Georgia the first time is because there was no shot for him to get on the field.
No,
There was Jake Fromm and Justin
right.
Fields in front of him. Like he wasn't going to see the field. He left, went to JUCO, came back and was just coachable. Absorbed everything, learned, and implemented everything to the point that we have now seen an unprecedented level of success.
Yeah, and it's just, man, I tell you, I think you're right. I think he's a 3rd to 5th rounder. I think he'll go, and because the NFL is always looking for the next big superstar, and they don't know where it's going to come from. You never know. That's the thing about it. So, and there's too many quarterback positions out there. There's too many teams needy of a quarterback who still they have a middling quarterback, and they're looking for that superstar still. So you'll see Stetson Bennett's going to go up in there. I have no doubt he'll get drafted. And then and again, we talk about it all the time. You never know where that stud quarterback is going to be and how he's going to play at that next level.
Right. I mean, because you look at Brock Purdy right now, what he did for the 49ers this weekend, and he absolutely helped them beat the brakes off the Seahawks. He was the last pick in the draft.
Yep.
He was Mr. Irrelevant. Tom Brady, future Hall of Famer. We all know his story. He was a late 6th-round pick.
Exactly.
Dak Prescott was a compensatory 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
And it's weird because you kind of juxtaposition the AFC quarterbacks against the NFC quarterbacks, and all the AFC quarterbacks are 1st-rounder guys. There's only one 1st-round quarterback in the NFC side of the playoffs this year, and that's Daniel Jones of the Giants.
Yes, that's true.
He's the only one.
And we're going to talk about them in just a minute as well. Kevin says Stetson will go in the 1st round. We'll see. Dude, we shall certainly see.
I would trust him over some other guys they're talking about in the 1st round.
I would too. Because all he's proven is he can win even through adversity. The Ohio State game was a great example of that.
And my thing is, when teams draft a quarterback in the 1st round, what do you always hear? This is going to be the quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. Well, we see Ben Roethlisberger play till he was 38. Aaron Rodgers is 38 now.
Yep.
Tom Brady's 43. These quarterbacks are going to be playing later and later because the game is getting to the point where it protects the quarterback more and more because quarterbacks are making more and more money. So if my only concern about Stetson Bennett is his age of being 25 years old, I wouldn't be concerned about that because probability says he can play till he's 35 to 40 years old.
Yeah, so you still get another good 10 to probably 15 years out of him.
And if that's what you're looking for to begin with, then you're getting your expectation.
Exactly. And if he's successful and he adapts to the pro game, it's a win-win because he obviously is not easily rattled.
No.
The kid just picks himself up and goes.
He's gritty. He's deceptively fast too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild because you look at him like, this dude can't run, and then you watch him take off and you're like, oh, okay. Well, he's actually got some wheels.
Yeah, then you hear people say, well, he's really not a great passer. I'm like, really? Because he throws nothing but lasers at sometimes and then drops perfect dimes at others. It's just ridiculous.
The problem with, and I'm not a talent scout. I don't go out there and evaluate players. The difference is when you're playing in a college game and you've got the amount of talent around you that Stetson Bennett does, his guys are creating windows that just won't be there in the NFL.
That's right.
Exactly. And how can he make those big NFL tight window throws? That's going to be the question.
And that was kind of the other thing that got me to how many people came out saying, well, he won because he got all this other talent. So Alabama, how much talent those teams have? Insane amount.
Not enough to make the playoff.
Not this year, but normally Alabama winning national championships, talent galore.
Hey, so how about coming out of this national title game, Alabama players and fans were like, this is why we should have been in the playoff. Actually, you shouldn't have been because you lost 2 regular season games.
That's right.
That's why
there's a reason you weren't in the playoffs, period. So I thought that was such a stupid argument. People making that thing.
I do get your point. Alabama's teams are immensely talented. Yep. That's why you see Mac Jones go in the 1st round. That's why you see Jalen Hurts came out of Oklahoma, but we saw he had so much film with Alabama. You see him go at the beginning of the 2nd round.
That's right.
Tua as a 1st round guy. But now we're looking at a guy like CJ Stroud who hadn't even played in the Big Ten title game since his freshman year. And that guy right there is considered a consensus top 5 pick.
Yeah, didn't he declare for the draft today?
He did.
So there you go. And we'll see what happens. But because of his name, I guarantee you.
But people are also
will
talking about like Will Levis as the first round quarterback, and he didn't have a great year.
No.
He was kind of in the middle to back of the pack of SEC quarterbacks this season.
And I mean, it's such a hard thing. I think back to your point about what people can and can't do and what they end up doing. All right, we got a lot of NFL football to talk about, and this first game, with the wild card weekend, and boy was it wild,
super wild card,
wild card weekend at that, which finishes up tonight with Dallas and Tampa, and we'll hit on that lastly. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm sitting at Windy City Grill enjoying myself Saturday night.
Right.
And I'm listening to the band, and I'm watching the football game at the same time. And it's just one interception after another.
Talking about Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, right? First half, about the worst first half you can have.
Asante Samuel Jr., on the other hand, had probably the best first half you can have as a corner.
They have a fluke punt play that pops off the dude's helmet, causes another turn, and more points. It's piling on. The Chargers are running away with this game. But somehow, at the end of the first half, Trevor Lawrence drives them downfield for a touchdown.
Yep, hits Evan Ingram with a 9-yard pass.
All of that happened. He kicks back, and with just seconds left, here it is. It makes it a more manageable game coming out of halftime. All that Jacksonville does is score touchdowns on their next 3 possessions after that and end up taking the lead in this football game. The craziness of this whole game is that if it wasn't for two things really hurt. Well, 3 things technically really hurt, but 2 things hurt San Diego.
Los Angeles.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's right. I had to get used to that. Los Angeles was the fact that Dicker missed the field goal and that Joey Bosa had such a mind meltdown on what should have been a penalty.
Yeah.
I agree with him. That pushed, and who knows what could happen, but it just pushed Jacksonville into scoring range and helped them out immensely. But it was amazing to see the lack of tenacity from the Chargers that was there in the first half, right? Like they could do no wrong, it seemed like, in the first half. They were given a lot.
The Chargers' tenacity, I don't think, wavered. I think Jacksonville just increased theirs.
Well, they definitely did. There was no backing down from Jacksonville.
I was listening to Evan Ingram on the way here today.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram was on Sirius XM radio doing an interview. And even the guys who, these were like, one of them's a former NFL quarterback, the other's former NFL general manager.
Mm-hmm.
They asked Evan Ingram's like, did the Chargers just do something differently on defense in the second half, or what was it? He's like, man, I would have to go back and rewatch the tape.
Yeah.
He said, I couldn't really tell you. He said, because we were so focused on what we were doing. Like, all of a sudden in the second half, you saw guys laying their bodies out to block harder.
Yep.
You saw guys willing to lower the shoulder, try to run through a tackler, breaking tackles. And he said, ultimately, we had a goal that we wanted to achieve, and they were in our way. And so we just moved them out of the way. And that's what we spent the entire second half doing.
And they did it. I mean, it was like, because I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, look at this. There's another touchdown. I'm like, holy crap. And then he drives them back down again. So, boom. The defense, Jacksonville's defense was up against a huge task. And that's stopping them from trying to get any points at all. And they only end up giving up 3 points in the whole second half. A stellar second half performance by Jacksonville.
If Mike Williams doesn't fracture his back, Jacksonville would have never gotten back in this game.
No, and you're right. That is true, which is a horrible thing.
Like, and I love Keenan Allen. I think he's the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL. I love Austin Eckler. He's my fantasy superhero every year. But having Mike Williams out there, 2 legitimate playmakers on the outside, would have made all the difference. And then you see Trevor Lawrence. I mean, yes, he had the 4 interceptions in the first half or in the game, but he had 4 touchdowns to go with it and really rallied his team. But my thing is, you see all the praise that's heaped on Trevor Lawrence for this, right?
Exactly.
He was 28 of 47, so he did complete over 50% of his passes. He only threw for 288 yards, which, 288 is pretty good, but not when you throw the ball 47 times.
No. Again, it was an ugly first half. We got guests coming on, by the way.
Okay.
We do.
But the 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions thing, like if Dak Prescott does that,
Yep.
No one would ever hear the end of it. We'd be hearing about how terrible the game was for him.
Well, that's a fact. That's very true, and which is what normally happens when the Cowboys are involved and stuff like that. Is that if Dak is involved in it, then oh God, it's going to be bad, and we'll find out tonight for sure as we talk about that game later. But I just thought Trevor Lawrence's composure in that second half was astounding.
Yeah.
The 2-point conversion itself, being 6'6" helps, and having a 27-foot wingspan. Because when but you know what's funny is that play right there kind of had an impact on the game last night, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. But what a beautiful 2-point play! But Jackson, you're watching that unfold, and I'm sitting there looking at it, going, "Oh my Lord, look at this! Look at what's happening here!"
And also, what a ballsy play call.
Oh, it was.
At that point in the game, because they could have just kicked the extra point and made it a 3-point game.
That's right.
But they went for 2 and made it a 2-point game.
And again, all because of the penalty that happened that drove them closer. So the stats say we're not at the 2.5-yard line. We're at the 1 now. This is really the percentage goes up for a chance for us to make it, which is another thing that.
But if you miss it, you have to get back in the end zone.
You have to. So it was crazy and it was kind of wild. I enjoyed it. It was so much fun to watch that football game because I really thought, I was like, oh man, this sucks for Jacksonville. They're about to be blown out in their home stadium. First playoff game in a while.
Especially, and it was wild because we saw how badly Trevor Lawrence played last week against Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then for him to turn around and play that badly again in the first half this week.
Oh, yeah.
You're just like, man, I thought maybe he was kind of figuring it out. And then in the second half, he did figure it out.
He did.
Made a big, impressive push, but Jacksonville's going to have their work cut out for him next week because they're going to be squared up against Kansas City.
You won't be able to make those same kind of mistakes against Kansas City.
Oh, not at all.
And survive the whole game because Kansas City's not going to lay down for the whole game, and they're not going to have the fall off that the Chargers had. It'll be a whole different monster.
Oh, and shout out to Riley Patterson, Jaguars kicker.
Oh, yeah.
University of Memphis.
Oh, absolutely. That is correct.
Hit that game winner.
That is correct. Then we had all right. So that was Saturday night's game, and then we had Sunday's game. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Well, there was the Seahawks and 49ers
we had the Seahawks
Saturday.
And 49ers Saturday. So
they were the early game.
I guess we should talk about that one. And
it was a really good game until halftime.
It really was.
Actually, really through the third quarter, it was a good game.
That's right.
But late in the third quarter, Geno Smith gets hit by Charles Omenihu.
Mm-hmm.
He fumbles the ball, which they gave credit to Omenihu because he's the one who actually made contact with Purdy, but the entire pocket collapsed on. There's like 3 49er defensive linemen right around him. The ball gets loose. San Francisco gets possession of it. Brock Purdy marches them down the field. Elijah Mitchell catches a 7-yard pass from Brock Purdy. Kind of like a schoolyard play where Brock Purdy was just kind of scrambling around looking for someone to be open. Elijah Mitchell was open. They get the ball to him. And after that, it was just all 49ers the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. In that fourth quarter, when he puts up 18 points, good Lord.
But a cool little takeaway from this is DK Metcalf caught a 50-yard touchdown pass. He is now tied with Randy Moss for second most all time in the playoffs. A 50-yard touchdown reception.
Some Ole Miss players showing out this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Evan Ingram.
Yep.
I think he had 7 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown.
That's right.
AJ Brown had AJ Brown was not playing until this weekend, but he'll show out because that's what he does. But DK with 2 touchdowns in this game. He had 10 catches, 136 yards to go with those 2 touchdowns. Yeah, some Ole Miss dudes absolutely balled out.
And we have this game right here. So we have the New York Football Giants taking on the Minnesota Vikings, traveling on the road, underdogs, and Daniel Jones decides to have an almost perfect football game. This is the game for Daniel Jones Giants fans have been longing for since he took over for Eli all those years ago. And the Giants have been sticking by this kid all this time. And he had a hell of a game.
Yeah,
just a hell of a game.
301 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and then another 17 carries for 78 yards on the ground.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Meanwhile, you got to keep in mind, too, that he's throwing the ball to essentially no one.
That's right.
His leading receiver on his team is Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
Now, it wasn't in this game, but for the season, it was Isaiah Hodgins in this game, who had a great game himself, 8 catches, 105 yards, including a touchdown with the long at 32. He was targeted 9 times and 8 catches on those 9 targets. But the thing that kind of trips me out about the Giants-Vikings game is that the Vikings were 13-4 this season, right?
Yes.
And we never felt like they were that good. Like they were finding ways to win close games, but when they lost, they typically lost badly.
That's right.
And, they just played the Giants, 3 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
I think in week 16, where, what's that kicker's name? Greg Joseph. He hit the 60-yarder to win the game for the Vikings. Since I think it's 2015, there have been like 15 game-winning or 15 attempts of 60 yards to win a game since 2015.
Good grief.
Now, out of those, only 5 have hit. 5 of those 15 have hit. 3 of those 5 were against the Giants.
Oh, my God. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
How wild is that? That's the case.
So, but it didn't, ultimately in this game, it never came down to that. Saquon hit the touchdown with almost 8 minutes left to go in the game. And that was the go-ahead score, and it stayed that way for the remainder.
Yeah, it was, man. And we're going to talk about these playoff scenarios here in just a minute. We'll get you through this last game real quick before we talk about tonight's game.
Well, we also
forward.
have Dolphins and Bills.
We do have Dolphins and Bills.
Which, another great game. It's just it's kind of that too little too late effort for the Dolphins. Of course, they're playing with Skylar Thompson. They're on their third-string quarterback. He was 18 of 45 on the day.
Yes.
220 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Conversely, Josh Allen really helped out Skylar Thompson because Josh Allen threw 2 picks himself.
Yeah.
But he was 23 of 39, 352 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that helped make the difference. Huge day for Stephon Diggs, 7 catches, 114 yards. And even the recently re-signed Cole Beasley caught a touchdown in this game for Buffalo.
There you go. And again, Buffalo didn't look their best, still won this football game. And the same thing can be said with Cincinnati as they played the Ravens yesterday. Cincinnati is fortunate.
Very much so.
I mean, and there's no other way you can spin this because it looked like the Ravens were about to take the lead in this football game. You had the ball on the 1-yard line, a little beyond the 1-yard line, and I think it was
Tyler Huntley.
Tyler Huntley tried to pull a Trevor Lawrence and dive over, except the Cincinnati Bengals defense had that sucker well scouted. That ball didn't get close, and as soon as he stuck it out forward, it got knocked loose right into the waiting arms.
Yeah, Sam Hubbard.
Sam Hubbard took off.
The hometown kid.
He is a hometown kid.
The Cincinnati kid, the Ohio State product.
This dude rumbled.
Picked up the fumble.
Stumbled.
Ran it back 98 yards, but he almost got run down from behind.
He did.
I think it was Mark Andrews, yeah.
Mark Andrews was on it, buddy.
Yeah, he was flying downfield, and then Sam Hubbard had one blocker out there near him, and that blocker got just enough of Mark Andrews to knock him off balance.
That's right.
And have him fall. That allowed Sam Hubbard to walk into the end zone untouched.
And that absolutely killed the momentum that the Ravens had.
Yeah. And there was still a lot of football left to be played. I mean, there's still 11 and a half minutes of game time left.
Yeah, but what a dagger it was because this game was tied 17-17.
And by all intents and purposes, if you take away the turnovers, the one interception and that fumble, Tyler Huntley kind of outplayed Joe Burrow in this game.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he played really well. He played really well in this football game, and the Bengals are fortunate to still be in it.
Oh, absolutely.
And we talk about Super Wild Card Weekend, buddy. It
But
did not disappoint.
But you also look at the Bengals offensive line now, and they're in shambles. They're down
Yes,
their
they
starting
are.
left tackle. They're down their starting right tackle. I think they're down their starting left guard
Hey, and here we go.
to the left guard or right guard. So
Let's see. This young man can hear us in here. All right, Marvin, I've got to put you on the air, buddy.
we got you, buddy.
Oh, we got you. Hey, we're gonna see if this is a little bit better. Hopefully, this will work a little bit better in our ears anyway.
Talking about playoff football, which I've been watching all weekend, and as you can see, I'm sitting in my studio. I ain't got it souped up like I usually have it on Tuesdays, you know.
That's right.
But man, look, the playoffs this weekend, I can say utterly choke job by the Chargers.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
come on,
it is.
man.
It is.
Utterly choke job by the Chargers. I said on my show last week, the Vikings were one and done. I called it. I mean, I
nailed it.
But Vikings were the weakest team out of the 4 division winners. That it's because of their schedule that
Weaker than Tampa?
Look, I'm gonna say this here. Reason why I say weaker than Tampa is because the Vikings really didn't play nobody.
Agreed.
They really didn't play nobody. The games like against the NFC East, the Eagles. I had to go back and check the score on that, but they barely
they got
beat
blown out.
That's what I'm saying. They barely beat the Giants by 3, and that boy had to hit a 60-yarder to do it.
Yep.
And so I knew then. I said, man, look, the Giants is gonna take them out clearly. And then we all seen what happened with the Cowboys game when they first game Dak coming back.
Oh yeah. Blowout.
So I mean, they were the weakest team to me. Tampa is because we gonna get to that today because my eyes glued to that because I'm a Cowboy fan. So I'm just saying,
Good
you
man.
know, I don't want to dig deep into that yet until we get to it. But far as everybody else, like Buffalo, liked to gave that game away.
Yes, they did.
They like
Yes,
to gave
they
that.
did.
They like to gave that game away with that high power offense they got. They underestimated Miami. When they underestimated Miami, oh yeah, that was some. If Miami had their regular quarterback, as I call him, Tua Tug, Miami would have won that game. Cause Miami, you couldn't sleep on them this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. Miami really showed up and showed out in a lot of games, but they just kind of faltered late this year. Of course, a lot of that had to do with the injuries to Tua. But for them to get in that predicament against Buffalo and then just kind of fall apart once again, and they went to Buffalo back towards the end of the regular season and
Yes.
really pushed Buffalo, and Buffalo managed to steal that one. And this was another one where Buffalo tried to give them the game, much to Marv's point, and they just couldn't get it done.
Nope. And it was so close. And that between them and the Bengals, I thought, man, these are two teams that were home field favorites, as well they should have been, and both of them could have very easily been sitting at home after this weekend.
You know what's so funny about that? Because I got a group text for our podcast, and I had been hollering all year that subpar 500 teams don't need a home game in the playoffs. I don't care if you did win your division. And so we were messing with Jacksonville. We were like, did y'all even pinch them? Like I said, come back in the second half, man. They're saying it's the biggest comeback in playoff history. And I'm going to have to look that up for Tuesday to make sure that.
I think the other one was the Patriots over the Falcons,
Super Bowl,
but that was
Lamar.
only a 25-point comeback,
Yeah.
whereas this is a 27.
And then you had Miami and Buffalo, way back, 20+ years ago now.
Man, look.
When that game happened. So, but it was, I watched that game, Marvin. I'm sitting there watching it, out having a good time, thinking, poor Trevor Lawrence. This is his first real playoff experience, and what a horror show this is. And they're putting up all these horrific stats that he just set records in the NFL in the way you don't want to. And then Asante Samuel setting them in a great way for the Chargers. And you're thinking, wow, this is going to be ugly. And then all that kid did was step up and say, now we got another whole half of football. This game ain't over. You play 60 minutes for a reason. And Chargers just sitting at home today. Derwin James comes out and says it's the worst experience he's ever had in his, 20-something years of playing football? 16 years, I think.
That's a man who blew out his ACL.
Yeah. Saying that experience was nothing compared to what the horror show he had to live through Saturday night.
But you know what, though? I say this all the time, and folks be saying I'm going crazy about this. In the NFL, you have to run the football in order to pass. You have to run the football in order to pass. In that second half, this is one thing I gave to the Tennessee Titans. Their formula has changed within 10 years. They run the ball. They run the ball heavily. In a second half situation like that, with a big league like that, you run the ball to eat up clock.
Yeah.
Prime example, go back to the Buffalo game with Miami in the second half. When Miami kicked the field goal, Buffalo came in, 2 passes, interception. Miami scores. Come right back again, instead of running the ball. 2 passes, another interception, another Miami score. And now it's 17-17, and Buffalo kicks the field goal at the end of the first half. You don't have to pass the ball all day, every day. You don't. That's the only skeptical thing I'm worried about tonight's game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you, because Buffalo does not have a running game.
No, they do not. No,
they have a decent running back in James Cook, but he can't.
I'm glad you said James. Look, I'm glad you said James Cook and not Devin Singletary.
No, I'm over Devin Singletary.
Man, he is the only starting running back that I know that is mediocre, subpar. How you a starting running back and you are mediocre? Man, look, you are terrible. It's sad that you do all the work and get down in the red zone and they give it to Cook and Cook go score. But you can't do the same thing. It is terrible.
Buffalo reminds me of a much better version of what the Detroit Lions were about 6-7 years ago when they still had Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
But they had no running game, and their running game was the short pass when they had Reggie Bush back there. And that was the only way that they could move the ball in that short to intermediate yard range.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's wild.
It is. Hey, let's go back to that Sunday night game because I caught the end of that. Man, look, I will say this here. They better pay Lamar Jackson. That's number one. Number one. But if you go back to that game, that boy almost caught that Hail Mary because it bounced off somebody. He almost caught it.
He did. I mean, look, the Bengals had to be crapping themselves. They did not play a good football game.
No, they didn't. They didn't play a good football game at all. You see, with a Baltimore team like that, you can't let them hang around. No. You got to go ahead and put the knockout punch in. You cannot let them hang around. Because if you let them hang around, then, hey, guess what? Y'all better be in some trouble.
That's right. And it was pretty close.
Yeah, and we saw kind of the fallout with the Lamar Jackson situation after that game, because now his teammates are like, yeah, if we had Lamar, we would have won. You saw J.K. Dobbins talking about Tyler Huntley, saying that Tyler Huntley should have never been in the position to where the ball was in his hands at the goal line anyway. Why are you not giving it to me?
That's right.
Because that's what my job is to get the ball in the end zone in that short yardage situation.
But that comes down to coaching, though. That right there comes down to coaching and knowing your personnel. That's how I look at it. You got to know your personnel. If you don't know your personnel, then that's a big problem. I have a big issue, and that's just for me with fantasy, that Tony Pollard carries the load all the way till they get down in the red zone. and then they hand it to Zeke to score. And I'd be like,
you give it to the big body back.
but that's what you're supposed to do. Yep. But me on the flip side, when you got Tony Pollard
and you need him to score,
I need him in that end zone. Only way Tony Pollard was getting in that end zone is if he was getting something outside of the 20, breaking big runs, which that's what he's capable of doing, and he has done that before. But, coming into tonight, which I know I'm kind of jumping ahead on y'all.
No, we're talking about it right now.
Oh, okay.
We got to.
Coming into the night, I am going to say this here. I am an avid Cowboy fan, but I also tell people I'm a real Cowboy fan. I'm a true fan. I'm not
That's right.
one of the ones that kind of, want to throw everybody by the wayside. I keep saying to this day they need to fire Kellen Moore because I don't like the way he runs that Tecmo Bowl offense. But anyway.
I'm with you.
Hey, see, that's what I'm talking about. Now, quiet as kept. The formula for this game is give Tom Brady the kitchen sink. If you pressure Tom Brady, he's not going to make good decisions. He's going to be chunking iPads across the thing. He's going to be tearing up all the equipment over there. That's what you need to do to Tom Brady. Now, on the flip side, you got to control that line because for the past 12 games, even longer than that, Dallas can't stop the run.
No, they can't. And I actually talked about this last week on the show. The middle of the Dallas Cowboys defense is so porous. It is insane. The D tackles don't get enough push. Of course, we haven't had Leighton Vander Esch in several weeks, which hurts at that middle linebacker position. And now the Tampa Bay has reactivated Ryan Jensen, their starting center who blew his knee out back in training camp. He's starting and supposed to be playing in this game. So Tampa Bay's going to get a bigger push in the middle of that offensive line.
Isn't Hankins going to be in tonight, I think?
Hankins should be in.
He should be in that middle
But
tonight.
he was a cast-off from the Raiders.
Yes, he was.
And a cast-off from the Colts. This is like his
and the
fourth
Cowboys
fifth
have
NFL
a few
stop.
of those. Right? They have a few of those on the team.
Now, I will say this here. Dallas defense, that defense supposed to be back this week. They're supposed to have Vander Esch coming back.
Right.
They supposed to also have some of the guys that I can't think of his name.
Is Jerron Bland coming back tonight? Or
I don't know, but I know
I'm not sure what Bland's status is.
On the deep, matter of fact, let me pull it up. I know for a fact on the defensive side, some of those cornerbacks that they just got out of off of waivers, they supposed to be activated for this game because they said
talking about Xavier Rhodes.
Yeah, they said a lot of them were pretty impressive in practice. Because my thing is, you got D-Law that sits on the interior line. You got Parsons that's on that outside. The biggest thing everybody's wondering why is Parsons diminished. When he was going like that bull line that he is, they started throwing the kitchen sink at him. And I've always said you needed somebody on the other side that plays just like Parsons. And you won't be able to stop Dallas defense. Because if you watch the plays, if you watch the tape, they run a lot of stuff away from Parsons. Parsons have to chase stuff down.
For sure.
Because they will not run at him because he's just that good. So
and
what
he's
I'm
got
going to do?
otherworldly speed, too.
There you go. So what they do on the passing play, man, they sending linemen, running backs, and everything at them. So they got the running back chipping on them as they going out. Then you got the defensive line. They kind of spreading it. So if you go inside, he runs in the blocker. So D-Law's going to have to step up this game. Vander Esch and them the whole defense going to have to step up. Man, Diggs can't gamble. I like when he gamble, but he's the most caught on defensive back that we got. He either goes interception or touchdown. Stop me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. And Tom Brady, he doesn't sit back in the pocket and let you get to him.
No, he's getting the ball.
The ball comes out quickly.
He even to this day, at 43 years old, he led the NFL in fastest release time this year.
Exactly.
On average per passing play.
This was the matchup I was dreading the most this postseason. The one the Cowboys drew against them, and not because it's just Tom Brady. People said they want to about an aging Tom Brady. The man has seen everything you can possibly ever throw at him. He beat this defensive coordinator so bad in the Super Bowl with that comeback against the Atlanta Falcons that Tom knows everything you're going to do to him. the Cowboys players are going to have to step up and play football tonight.
But here's the thing that doesn't help the Cowboys defense. And even with having Jonathan Hankins back, that interior defensive line is not going to be great. Like,
no, it worries me.
You can move Parsons around. He can play linebacker. He can rush from the edge on each side. D-Law is typically going to stay on that left end side, or he might move into the interior of the line. But with the guys that the Cowboys have to generate a pass rush, the Cowboys have not generated a holding call against an offensive line in 2 months.
Yeah, which is stupid.
The last time the Cowboys got a holding call called against the opposing team was in Week 10.
Yep.
But you know what? That also you got to test some of them officials because they'll clearly have it on film where they being held. Parsons is held every play.
Every play.
Every play. But you know they ain't blowing the whistle, and we all know that. But I will say this here: as far as the game plan for the defense, I'm gonna need the defense to get stops where it counts. Because right now this game is gonna be a shootout.
It really is.
Get stops where it's going to count. I'm expecting each team. I know Dallas is gonna get over 30 tonight because everybody hollering, well, look how they played against Washington. I keep telling folks, Jerry Jones has a direct line to that sideline. They had people watching the other games, okay? Because if you go back and look at that Washington game, even if Dallas won, Philly wins, Dallas in the same spot.
Right.
Okay? People they're scouting all the games. And you'd be a fool to scout that Washington game and think this is how the Cowboys going to come out. You would be a fool to do that. But, you know, they was like, well, hey, this game is already washed. And you look in the second half, well, didn't nobody play well? Well, didn't nobody play well because that game there really didn't count.
But they didn't know that at the time because all the 49ers game and the Eagles game were going on at the same time.
Hey, guess what? You're right in an aspect, but we're talking about the NFL. We're talking about Jerry Jones, one of the smartest man. Everybody say he's not. That man is a smart man. That man know. He put it like this here. He had people watching them games. Because if you notice, halftime, Dallas was kind of still in it. They weren't completely out of it. We always know Dallas started off slow first half. Let's just keep it real. They do.
Which kills me.
Yeah.
It kills me too. I don't understand how y'all just come out so flat like that. But coming into that locker room, when they see how the Philly game was going, oh yeah, they went through the motions because they don't want to be one of them teams where they knew they weren't going to win, so they set everybody.
Yeah, and I think the 49er game is one that really, once they saw what was going on with a lot of that stuff, they're like, yeah, I think we're good.
But, I mean, even early on, at one point, I think it was still in the first half, Dak was like 2 of 9 passing, and it looked like he just did not want to be there.
Exactly.
Well, Paul, here's the thing, and I will say this here, and everybody keeps saying that, well, Dak changes everything up at the line. Dak ain't accurate. Dak ain't this. Dak ain't that. I said, some of y'all don't play football. Some of y'all don't understand when you play football, you do what your coach tell you to do. You can make an audible. You can probably make a good play. It probably be a good splash. But behind closed doors, you're going to get chewed out because you have to respect the coach for whatever call he makes.
Well, you know, we were talking about this earlier today, and I've always been, when Dak's early in his career, a lot of his passes were short passes. I think his average was like 2 yards a pass, it seemed like. You know, he was checking down, throwing real safe passes. Then everybody was hollering, you gotta push the field, right? You gotta challenge the defense. And Dak is doing that this year. He's trying to push the ball down the field. When you do that, your chances of interceptions go up when you're taking risks. And Dak even said this weeks ago. I'm willing to take the risk. Used to, he wouldn't take the risk. And you're going to have to live and die with that mentality of saying, I'm either going to do it because nothing makes me more aggravated with Dak than the jump pass that he does. The not sitting of the feet, not following through on his throw. Because when he plants his feet, and when he plants his feet and sets, that dude is super accurate. And he can drill the ball in there.
Well, that's kind of why Dak having 15 interceptions this season perturbs me so much, is because I've seen him play really well.
Yeah. Oh,
and then all of a sudden, just this season, it's like the great moments are elite,
Yep.
and the bad moments are terrible.
Yeah. So you guys think it's a matter of Dak saying, look, I've got to prove coming to the city, I want to prove that I am one of the top tier quarterbacks because I'm tired of the talk around that says, I'm just mediocre. I'm just inconsistent at best.
I just wish he would start implementing the running
Aspect.
back into his game. Like
That
He's a good runner.
yeah, I still think he's kind of skeptical because of that ankle,
I
which
do too.
I do.
which I can give that. But I tell people all the time, I said, man, go back to the year Dak's first and second year. I would want to say when he was lights out. Hey, guess what, y'all? Guess who won the offensive coordinator? I keep telling folks that.
Right.
Yeah.
Guess who
Yeah.
was not the offensive coordinator? Ever since he became the offensive coordinator, it's like I can sit up here and tell you Dallas first three series right now. It's gonna be run, then we're in the third and long, then you're trying to pass to be the hero. Now we 3-and-out. You're gonna come back in, you're gonna throw the ball on first down, then you're gonna run the ball on second, then third down, you're gonna throw a hitch play. What are we doing here?
I swear. You can almost you can see it coming.
But it's kind of the same deal as when they had Scott Linehan at OC back when Kellen Moore was still on this team, or when he was Dak's quarterback coach.
Yeah.
Like you knew that first series in particular was going to play out that same way. It was going to be run, pass, and then maybe it works, maybe it's a 3-and-out.
But you know what was funny is a lot of that stems from, and you mentioned Tennessee Titans earlier. The Cowboys actually are the ones that restarted this trend with the run game.
Yeah, building the
back
offense
with
around the
DeMarco
running
Murray.
game.
They built up that
DeMarco
offensive
Murray,
line.
Marion Barber, Felix Jones, that whole
Exactly
two-headed monster type thing. Yeah.
So when they started developing Tyron Smith, they brought in Zach Martin and Travis Frederick with their center, and that offensive line was amazing. DeMarco Murray was a hammer. They had gotten that running game started again. It became a trend in the NFL again to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
to start running.
We saw Ty Gurley go in the first round.
That's right. And you saw a big string of that happening. Now Tennessee's using that with Derrick Henry, who is a beast in and of himself. But the problem with Dallas right now is they are getting no push. And to me, Zach Martin is one of the greatest of all time at his position. He has only given up, 4 sacks in his career?
Yep.
I think it is.
He's been named to the All-Pro team more times than he's been called for holding in his career.
Which is insane. So you've got Dallas has the ability to do this. The problem with Dallas is they become predictable.
That's the biggest thing. They become so predictable, and it's like, why can't we switch it up? And I don't mean switch it up by doing a trick play. Jacksonville almost didn't even make it to the playoffs because when they played against Tennessee, they did a trick play that they did not need and ended up fumbling the ball. Sometimes you just don't need that. Just, man, line up at the numbers, man, blow them off the ball and, man, let it do what it do. It irritates me because Tony Pollard has the speed to get to the outside.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Zeke has the speed to beat you up in the middle.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, his power.
I have not seen Dallas run a play action, I don't even think, this year.
It doesn't seem like it.
Or
none that you believe is
right.
a legit
because when
play
they call
action
play action, it's at a weird time where the defense doesn't believe that the run threat is there.
Yeah, so they're not looking for it anyway. And I agree with you guys on that. It's wild to me that's the thing that they're doing right now. But what you got?
I do have the injury report.
All right.
Trayvon Mullen is the only Cowboys player listed on the injury report.
Wow.
He's listed as out. Tampa Bay, all their guys are questionable that are on their injury report, but it's safety Mike Edwards, corner Carlton Davis III, Keanu Neal, Logan Ryan, and the big one is Vita Vea.
Yes, yeah. That's a decent
If Vita Vea somehow ends up not playing in this game, that will really help that Cowboys run game up the middle.
Yeah, because he is a tank up inside. All right, so we're at the part of the show now, and Marvin, we're going to let you hang around and do this with us because I think this would be a cool thing, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
So we give out awards every week. We give out 2 awards. Our first award that we give out is called the Drizzler Award for the best or for the worst player team, plays, whatever it is that you think earned the Drizzler Award this weekend in professional football. And then the second award we give out is the
Big Kahuna.
The Big Kahuna Award. So we're going to start with the Drizzler Award. Who is your Drizzler for the week? Who was the worst player or was a play call or whatever it was pertaining to football this weekend, whether it's in college or whether it's in pros?
I see you threw in the college because of what happened Monday night.
Yeah, because we didn't get to talk about it on this show last week. We're just now handling the national championship.
Hey, you know what?
We were hoping Texas Christian was gonna actually make this a game last week.
Let me say this here about and I've said this several times. It is the SEC versus everybody else. Yep. SEC football is on another level. I'm sorry. I mean, Big Ten can come close. I'll be honest with you. Somebody saying Michigan would have put up a better fight. I don't think Michigan would have put up a better fight. It would have been a better score. It wouldn't have been 65 to whatever it was. Probably would have been like 44-10. But nah, man, those SEC schools are built different, and that's the credit.
They are.
That is the credit to the conference. You know, right. You have to shout out Alabama. It's a thing we got in bowling where they say you get your tail kicked until you learn how to start kicking tail.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And so Alabama
that is a fact.
Alabama wreck shop for so long that everybody else had to start, getting up, had to start getting their weight up. And as you can see, Georgia got their weight up. Tennessee got their weight up. Ole Miss at one time had their weight up. Mississippi State, Arkansas, the list keeps going. I think at one point in time, Kentucky, because Kentucky's in the SEC, right?
Yeah.
They weren't too bad this year, if I'm not, quote me if I'm wrong.
No. Last year they were pretty good. This year they kind of fell back off again.
Okay,
but still a good team, and there's a lot of those.
So I mean, if you want to say the award, the crap is the drizzling shits, as we would say. You got to get to the NCAA, not the NCAA, the College Football Playoff Committee, because y'all knew better than setting up that matchup. You knew better. Let's give it to them. I can't fault TCU. They did everything they were supposed to do to get to that game.
Yes, they did.
They did. They played what was dealt to them. They played the game that they played. They just came up extremely short. I'm talking about paper thin short. But College Football Playoff Committee, y'all knew better.
Yep. So is that going to be your drizzler of the week?
That is my drizzler of the week, the College Football Playoff Committee.
Okay.
Because they knew better. They knew better.
So let me ask you, Marvin. They're expanded to 12 playoff teams. How do you feel about that?
That's going to be even worse. and I'm gonna tell you why. It's going to be worse in my eyes because now, why do we have a bowl season?
Yeah, and how are they going to handle really the bowl games? Which ones?
That's what I'm saying.
Which ones are you going to dedicate? We know that there will still be the big bowl games, the ones that have the massive stage. But which of your other bowl ones are going to be considered as a part of that whole college football playoff deal? And are they going to call them bowl games?
And see, that's what I'm saying. It all goes to money. They can still have the bowl games, but the issue is you're going to have to take 6 of those games or 12 or however they got it set up now and move those to college football playoff games.
Yeah.
They can't be called bowl games. And so now the sponsor, see, when they're doing this here, they have to realize people do sponsorship, naming rights for all that stuff for like 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the line.
Yep.
So now you finna do this here. Now you finna start dipping into other folks' money. So yeah, we're finna hear about that all throughout. As soon as football's over with, I understand they got the XFL coming back, USFL. Man, you ain't finna hear none of that. You're going to hear a tad bit, but most of you going to hear about it just football playoff being expanded. What bowl game is going to be like, well, wait a minute. I'm having my bowl game, but, it's for y'all. Yeah, it's finna get real, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just like I said, their award, they get it.
Exactly. JC, who you got for your drizzler?
My drizzler this week is head coach Brandon Staley of the Los Angeles Chargers.
I figured that was coming.
I mean, God, how do you blow a 27-point lead?
I swear.
And
I swear.
You know, hey, if you even want to call it a 20-point lead after half, like however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
How do you
It was
blow
still 27-0 at
You've
one
got
point in this
Austin
game.
Eckler, who is pound for pound probably the strongest human being in professional football.
Yeah.
Regardless of position or body type.
That's right.
He's fast. He can catch out of the backfield. He can run the rock. You got Keenan Allen out there at tight end. You got at wide receiver. You got Gerald Everett at tight end. You got 6'12" Justin Herbert. Yeah, he's taking on 6'12" Trevor Lawrence. But you've got enough there that preserving a 20-point lead in the second half should not ever be an issue. And then once again, play calling, clock management.
Run the ball.
These things always come to bite Brandon Staley multiple times a year, every year since he's taken this head coaching job, and I just can't go to bat for him anymore.
No, that's very, very true. Because and I'll stay with that game, but I want to agree with you because I just to make it all different because we all three have something different. I have to say, Lord, let's just go with the boneheaded play by Joey Bosa. I think the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which I get he was mad about because that should have been a penalty altogether before they even, which is why he was so angry.
Right.
Because he was obviously mugged on that play. But you can't let your emotions get away with you in that kind of situation. Slam your hat to the turf, take it off and slam it. Because once he did that, that is 15 easy yards for Jacksonville. And it cost them. And I get the emotional part of it. And honestly, with both of y'all are talking about, y'all's just definitely by far the better one. But I want to be different. But it's still a boneheaded play that you can't do.
Absolutely.
In a big time situation, and you're a veteran who should know better. You have to lead, and you can't just let those emotions get away with you and give Jacksonville an easy 15 more yards when you still have an opportunity to keep them back and out of the way because that extra yardage, their kicker didn't make that clean down the middle.
No.
If they're back 15 more yards or even a few more yards, that kick probably drifts out the upright, and we're talking about a different outcome.
Look, now we'll say this, and I got to put the asterisks on the Chargers. You know, the Chargers have been that team for years that in the last 6 minutes of a football game, they either win it or lose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They either win it or lose. They find a way to either win it or they find a way to lose it. I don't care where it's at. Regular season, playoffs, yeah.
And the Chargers had a lot of good drives in this game where they ended up settling for field goals.
Yes, they did. They could not finish a lot of drives.
Like they hit 3 field goals. They missed another.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you turn those into touchdowns, and
it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it's not
even close.
We're talking about Chargers putting up a 40-burger.
That's right.
And walking with an easy win onto the divisional round.
All right, so speaking of that, it's time to give out a Big Kahuna Award. Marvin, who's your Big Kahuna, though, for this weekend?
Let me see. I might as well say the Big Kahuna Award. I almost want to say it's a tie. I don't want to say it's a tie.
We've done that before.
Because Jacksonville, I mean, came from the bottom and now they're here. But then again, you also got to go. You got to tip your hat out to the 49ers, almost putting up 40 points on Seattle. You know, I mean, San Francisco started rolling. Like I've told people, San Francisco is the hottest team coming into the playoffs. I don't care what nobody say. I'm a Dallas fan, but let's go with facts and facts. You got a third-string quarterback, which I'm going to say this on your show. I'm going to say it on my show tomorrow. I believe Trey Lance will get traded.
Look, the way Brock Purdy is playing.
I believe Trey Lance is going to be traded. He is going to be traded.
San Francisco will go get some draft picks.
Yeah. I mean, they should have never drafted him to begin with.
Yeah. And now that they've seen how Brock Purdy can truly play in every situation right now,
get
Trey Lance out of there.
Trey Lance and Garoppolo gone. Both of them. Get them up out of here. Man, Garoppolo, only reason why he had got back into the fold because Trey Lance tore his stuff up. So when Garoppolo got there and took him, you know, that was more Garoppolo playing for another contract.
San Francisco is scary. And if you're foolish enough to think that what San Francisco is doing is a fluke, you are not paying attention to that football team.
I
They're
swear.
going to be even scarier. And if they end up in the Super Bowl this season, I am not shocked at
But
all.
you know, what was their biggest season turnaround though? When they acquired Christian McCaffrey from Carolina.
Yes,
That was
absolutely.
that was the game changer that they needed because Christian McCaffrey was a beast anyway.
Yeah. Don't know how he got snubbed for the Pro Bowl.
I don't know. Because
You-
he made all the difference in that team.
Come on, man. You ought to know why, man. Pro Bowl, man, is more of a
Popularity
That's a
contest.
popularity thing with the
fan
fans listening,
contest, just
you know.
like it is in the NBA, even though we ain't talking about NBA.
Yeah.
But you would think the 49ers got a massive fan base all across the country. I thought they would just, the fans
Easily
alone
get
would
him
be
in,
enough
but
to get him in.
About time he got there. By the time he got there, you know, the voting he probably have a 3 weeks of voting, and it probably got closed up. He had to get acclimated to the system. So really, when he started balling out, it was probably after they didn't shut down the voting and everything. Because you're right, San Francisco does have a mad fan base, but you know, by the time then, I guarantee he getting in there next year.
Oh, for sure.
No doubt. And you know, it's funny though because a lot of this voting stuff it reminds me a lot of, you know, your Pro Bowl like the Hall of Fame voting goes, whether it's for football or baseball or whatever. You got people sometimes that are voting that have no clue what the hell it is they
Have
watch.
zero clue on what's going on.
You're like, why? What? This guy? Okay.
They just picking people just because. I
That's
mean,
it.
I'm so sick of watching, and like I said, I know we ain't talking about NBA. I'm so sick of watching the All-Star game on the NBA because you got the same people in it every year. I mean, and
Yep.
the difference in between, well, back then they had the same people back then, but the same people back then, they was like an All-Star team that wanted to play for pride.
Right.
Versus now, I don't know what they play for. I'm sorry.
They don't play
Celebrity
defense.
status now more than
Man,
pride.
that's all it is. Cause back then, when you had Jordan, Shaq, Jordan and Shaq on the same Eastern Conference team, who else was on that team one year? Man, you got Penny. You got I can't even remember one of them teams that when Kobe and Jordan was going back at it, East versus West. That's when you wanted to watch those games because it was more of a pride thing than anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm finna represent for my conference versus now.
Exactly.
Versus now, like I said, my bad. This is football, not basketball.
But
I
it
got
is the same
sidetracked.
kind of
My bad.
concept.
But-
JC, who's your big kahuna, buddy?
So my big kahuna this week is I'm going to stay on this 49ers kick here. I'm rolling with Kyle Shanahan and company and that coaching staff and what they are doing with this offense.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to have Christian McCaffrey. It's one thing to have Deebo Samuel, to have Brandon Ayuk, to have Kyle Juszczyk, to have George Kittle. But the looks that they can give you out of the same exact formation is ungodly. They will line up and they will have Deebo out wide. They'll have Ayuk out wide, Juszczyk out wide, George Kittle lined up in line, McCaffrey in the backfield. Motion McCaffrey out, bring Samuel in.
Yep.
Send Samuel back out, bring Ayuk in. Send Ayuk back out, bring Juszczyk back there. You never know how they're going to attack you on any given play, and it has given teams nightmares ever since the McCaffrey trade. I mean, we saw in his very first game with the 49ers, he caught a touchdown pass, rushed for a touchdown pass, and threw a touchdown pass.
I never say he threw one.
Yeah.
So, like, the ways that the San Francisco 49ers can attack you right now and the willingness that they have shown to scheme up those things and to execute them is just nightmare fuel for every defense in the NFC going forward through the rest of this playoffs.
It's gonna be rough for some teams. I don't care if it's Dallas or Tampa that ends up going to San Francisco next week. Them boys, whoever it is, it's gonna be a long day. It's just gonna be a long day.
You know what? It's gonna be a long day, but I'm hoping Dallas go because it's gonna be a revenge game for Dallas. Because San Francisco walked clean into Dallas last year.
Yep.
And got them up out of there. And what'll be most sweeter than Dallas going back to the divisional and straight up, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, my big kahuna, I'm going to go completely off the reservation here because I believe it's been overlooked for the most part. But Daniel Jones and what he did in Minnesota yesterday.
I got something to say on that too. Go ahead.
And dude, I absolutely hate the New York Football Giants, along with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington. I don't know who the hell your football team is. I
The
don't like
Washington
any of them. I don't like none of them. They all trash.
You talking about the Washington Cobra Commanders?
Oh,
Okay.
dude, that's them, right? The peasants of the NFL, I don't like any of them. They all trash. However, Daniel Jones yesterday, when they played the Minnesota Vikings, simply went in there and played near perfect football. But for a football team that wasn't expected to go to the playoffs, much less win a playoff game against the team that I agree with you, Mark, was way overhyped. Me and JC have talked about this a lot this season. But the Statue of Liberty play, or the however you want to call that play, it was a modified Statue of Liberty play. It was a perfect fake, and you can't execute that play any better
and
than what they did.
That if Patrick Mahomes had done that, then ESPN would be force feeding that play down our throats.
Oh yeah, we'd never hear the end of it. So kudos to Daniel Jones finally going out and actually playing incredible football and making that fan base, and everybody else is going to have to take notice that, dude, yes, I can play at this level, and you can't ask anything more of your quarterback to go out and have the performance he had. Will that change in Philadelphia next week? We'll see. But
I'm gonna say,
this week, he just crushed it.
I'm gonna say this here, and I'm not like I said, I ain't no avid Giants fan, but I do keep track of stats. You know, the Giants beat that 8-18, that they'll win 8 and then crap off 8 and lose the playoffs, or they'll lose 8, come back in hot at the end of the season, and take off. And to be honest with you, from the way stuff is looking, and I'm looking at their last 4 games before they played Minnesota again, they went to Washington. They went to Washington. They beat them. They barely lost to Minnesota by 3 points. Man, stomped the mud hole in Indianapolis and only lost to Philly by a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I'm me personally, I don't know if y'all do picks on here. I'm thinking, man, the Giants finna go in there and upset Philly.
They could do it. If they play like they played this weekend, they could very well do it. I don't think it's going to happen.
I really do think, and the reason why I say that is, I ain't going to say Philadelphia is overhyped, but their biggest problem is you got a quarterback. Did Jalen Hurts play that last game?
I think he did.
Yeah, he did.
You know, they're trying to say that, you know what I'm saying, and I believe he wasn't hurt for them games he was. I believe he was just barely, he just needed the rest. And they just, that's how I feel. But I really do think in that Philadelphia game, the Giants are going to take it to them. And I think the Giants may beat them by a field goal because Philadelphia is going to make a mistake that's going to cost them the game.
Well, let's stay on that train. JC, what do you think next week? Let's go ahead and pick these games because we're not going to be here to pick them.
I don't think the Giants are good enough to keep up with the Eagles in the playoffs because everyone knows that when it's the playoffs, it just means more. Everyone on that field is going to turn the game up, Giants included. But I think what the Eagles have at their best is better than anything the Giants can put on the field.
All right, so I've just got to go with Philly too. But I mean, it would not surprise me if Giants win this football game because they have played them close. But I think Philly's going to be too much. Jacksonville and Kansas City, Marvin. That's a game.
Man, look.
On paper, this looks to be the easiest game to pick, one of the easiest ones to pick.
It is not. It is not because, I mean, you can clearly say that Patrick Mahomes and them supposed to walk all over them. But Kansas City has been kind of inconsistent this year, y'all. They have not been that dominant team that, you know, they've normally been. And to be honest with you, had the game that they played with the Bengals and the Bills, had they finished that game, Kansas City might not have been number 1. And here's the crazy part about this: the Bengals and Bills, they about to play next weekend, which is You can't even say it's a rematch from the third. And I think that, Cincinnati gets a raw deal on this because
Right.
we had a home game. By the unfortunate situation, it could not be finished. Now we got to go play this same team on the road. Cincinnati's getting a raw deal out of that, and really the AFC is getting a raw deal because let's say Chiefs go ahead and handle their business. Say the Bills go ahead and handle their business. They're playing that game next week in Atlanta, which is not fair to either one of them teams.
Yeah, or their fan bases. I mean,
No, neither one of them.
who's been invested the whole season in these teams?
I'm talking about ain't no way, man, the AFC Championship game. You might as well say we got 2 Super Bowls. Because that's what it's going to feel like. That AFC Championship game is going to feel like a Super Bowl game because of what's at stake. And, man, look, I really didn't like that decision that they made on that. Well, they could have found a better way. They were trying to say that was the only way, but they could have found something. It could have been something better.
Yeah,
Something better.
Yeah,
something better than that. Just God.
JC, Jaguars, Chiefs. Who you got?
Oh, I'm taking Kansas City all day.
Yeah, because same here.
Trevor Lawrence goes out there and he plays that first half like he did against the Chargers.
It won't
Yeah.
end the same way.
Oh yeah. Kansas City ain't finna make that mistake.
Yeah. Chiefs will go out there and 40 burger them in the first half if Trevor Lawrence plays that way.
All right, so Bengals, Bills. You touched on it, Marvin. Who you got in that game?
Man, look, I mean, I gotta go with I gotta go with the hot hand, which would be the Bills, even though they act like they played probably their second or third worst game against Miami. But then again, you think about it, man, Miami always play Buffalo kind of hard.
Yeah, all year
they do.
I will say that, but this Bengals Bills game, it's gonna be a shootout too. But my biggest issue is Cincinnati's run game is lackluster. I like Joe Mixon, I like him a lot, but he can't get in the end zone, and that's gonna be the difference maker right there.
JC, what you got?
I actually got to piggyback off of Marvin there because the Bengals offense has not been as
dynamic.
Well, it hasn't been as dynamic, but they just haven't been able to generate points at the same clip as they did early in the season. Which I know that T. Higgins has missed some time, Tyler Boyd has missed some time, Jamar Chase has missed some time, even Joe Mixon's missed time this year for them. But now at this point, it's do or die.
Yep.
There is only this weekend for the Cincinnati Bengals, and they are going against a top-tier defense. Granted, that defense doesn't have Von Miller, but they've got Jordan Poyer back. I think Micah Hyde is out for the season, so that does help their chances as far as beating the secondary. But I just don't see a way where Cincinnati rolls into Orchard Park and pulls this off.
Yeah, I love Buffalo's attitude right now, and look, I love Joey Burrow. Yeah, kid's a baller. He shows he belongs at this level. But I just don't think it's Cincinnati's season. I think Buffalo has a lot to prove, especially after this weekend and their fight with Buffalo. So it does not surprise me for the Bills to win at home, and I think the city of Buffalo is rolling once again. And then we got the 49ers next week against either Tampa Bay or the Dallas Cowboys. So I'll ask you this. I know we can't predict the future. We have no idea. That game has to be played tonight, but one of those two teams will go. My question is, does it matter which team goes to San Francisco next week?
No, it doesn't.
I know, because we're Dallas fans and we want it to be the Cowboys. We'll roll in there and do it. But realistically,
the Cowboys would give San Francisco a better fight than
I'm gonna
Tampa.
say Cowboys would be the better chance. Put it like this here. Cowboys would give more of a puncher's chance than Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay gonna be like, thanks you're coming. They're gonna get down there and be like, let's enjoy some of this sun and then get back to our own sun. Because there ain't no way as great as Tom Brady is, man, that's a buzzsaw in San Francisco. Dallas gonna put up the fight. Not San Francisco, but Tampa Bay is gonna be a thanks you're coming. So if it's me, and my wife is a San Francisco fan, so
I'm sorry.
I didn't know that about her.
Yeah, she's a San Francisco fan. I'm a Dallas fan. So I'm already seeing if Dallas go ahead and handle their business tonight, what the house gonna be like this weekend. So,
Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
her prancing around there too.
yeah,
well, I can tell you right now, in her little office, she already got her big San Francisco keychain already hanging up. She ain't think I paid attention to it when we were leaving out the house earlier today. But I seen it sitting over there, so that just let me know. And then we were doing some filming on a commercial yesterday, and one of the guys, I knew you was gonna walk back here.
First of all, that
Look,
ain't got nothing to do with
look,
you.
look, look,
I was washing clothes. It was in the clothes basket.
Is
look,
that what it
look.
was?
Look, I already know what it was. But see, the guy, he had on real nice San Francisco. It was a leather jacket. She was like, I need that with the with the little cap and all that. I was like, okay. That's all I can say. Okay. Happy wife, happy life. Gotta give her what she want. But
That's
yeah,
true.
that game right there, if Dallas gets there, man, I don't know what this house gonna be like, man. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to pep myself up, man. Man, look, I will say this here. I know they playing on Sunday because looking at the schedule,
Yes,
they
they are.
got they'll probably have the 4 o'clock game because what I was looking at was where we at in the divisional. They got the Saturday games already slated. Giants and Eagles, Jaguars and Chiefs. They're both playing on Saturday.
Hmm. Correct.
NBC has the divisional and Fox has that later round. So and then with the AFC, CBS has the early game, and I'm sure Fox is gonna have the late game. So the winner of that is gonna have gonna be the 3:30, 4 o'clock game and whatnot. So I'm gonna have to go find me somewhere to watch this game because yeah, we gonna be hoopline and fussing. Uh, yeah, hoopline and fussing. I'm probably gonna go down to Huey's and Olive Branch. I got a friend down there that works down there. I think she said she works. No, she said Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday. God dog it. I'm gonna have to find somewhere else now. Or I may go down to my partner's house. He stays in Byhaler, and we might watch it on the 70 inch. We put it like this here. It depends on what go on Saturday. It depends
Gotcha.
on if royalty tap the studio and I ain't got that much to edit, I might run down there.
You probably gonna have a lot to edit, buddy. Just telling you. I'm just telling you. You have a lot to edit.
Believe you me, I know because I'm working on this week's episode and I have got to one of y'all segments to where y'all got me going like this here. I'm trying to figure out which camera angle I'm finna use on which beat down that is going on.
Because it was a lot.
Yeah,
It was a
it
lot.
was.
Hey,
It
let me just
was.
tell you, by the way, right here, you did a great job on this week's episode.
Thank you,
Saturday's
sir.
episode was off the chain, buddy. It was good.
Thank you, sir.
No,
Thank
it was fun to watch, and I saw it a few times Saturday and Saturday night, and then actually yesterday, because we had all these interviews that we were doing over it. And man, the people who were talking about it Saturday night. I don't know if you've heard this. Saturday night, I was down at Windy City Grill.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there eating, chilling, enjoying life after what we did to all those guys Saturday. And let me tell you, I get a tap on my shoulder, and there's a table behind me. They're watching Bluff City Wrestling.
Oh
That
wow.
episode right there.
Oh wow.
That was pretty cool.
Oh wow.
And I was stopped 2 more times that night before I ever left. And then today at the gym, I had a couple people stop me talking about it. So it's being seen, and your work is being, dude, y'all do a great job.
I
I'll just tell you that.
appreciate that because like I tell people, I am looking at this thing 8, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "I'm dead serious." I look at this every day, and not because that I don't, I want to make sure the product that we're putting out there is, man. Look, we can put it anywhere. We can be syndicated. That's just me personally. I want to put out a product that everybody can enjoy. Just simple as that.
And I think that's the best part about it is your passion behind it. And I think everybody's passion. It really shows that every week the show is just better and better. The intros I love, dude. What y'all have added to it's been great. The picture-in-picture deal was awesome, by the way. I love that.
Yeah,
That picture-in-picture was great. With the
yeah,
cane sitting out there talking and yelling as they were getting the crap beat out of them. That's perfect.
I was throwing little tidbits and little nuggets
You did
here or
good.
there. But I will say this: after this week, I am working on a bigger promo for our show on the 28th. It's just I could not do what I wanted to do
Yeah.
because a lot of the footage I want to use is going to happen this week.
That's right.
And so I got to, and I was telling myself, I'm like, man, I can't give away what I want to give away until I get this done. So once I get this done, now we're gonna have the man promo, and they're gonna be like, "Is this WWE style?" Hey man,
Hey,
hey,
look, it's good, and you do it well. I'm excited about it and about where it's going.
I surely appreciate that, man. You know, I appreciate hanging out with y'all today, man. I was just so happy coming back from my storage and getting some stuff, and I looked and I seen y'all was over there talking football. I said, "Wait a minute, let me get in the house." Let me get in the house, because normally I'm on Tuesdays,
Yeah.
and so when y'all got on and were talking about football today, I said, hold up, let me jump on right quick before I get on up out of here and go watch the game tonight. I might go watch it tonight somewhere. I'm trying to figure out. I don't know. I gotta see how the missus feel.
That's right.
If she feel like she up to us going to go watch a game down in Olive Branch, I'm gonna be like, hey, let's go. So
Well, you're always welcome, buddy. Anytime.
always, man. I appreciate you guys, man. What y'all doing? Storm,
Go.
if you free Tuesday, I might be sending you a link.
Send me a link.
You know what I'm saying? We are on from 8 to 9 on Tuesdays. We be on live on YouTube and we're live on Facebook.
I hate talking, so yeah. Send me a link.
Yeah, man. Ooh. And I will say this here. I don't know if you'd have seen some of them, but hey, that show there gets wild. That show there gets, man, look, because I got 3. Look, you'll feel right at home because two of the guests on there are Cowboy fans. So you'll be right at home.
Oh, I'm coming. I'll be there. You send me that.
look, you'll be right there. Then we got a friend of mine that's a Jets fan. We've been ragging him.
Yeah, we apologize for him.
Man, look, we were ragging him all. Ooh-wee. So, yeah. So, man, look, if you're free tomorrow, I'll send you the link. And, man, look, come on and join us tomorrow, man.
Oh, buddy, I will hit you up tomorrow evening. Trust me.
All righty then, man. You guys take it easy.
All right, brother. You too. Thanks, Marvin.
All right.
Man, appreciate that. Appreciate Marvin being here and being part of the show today.
Yeah, man.
That was awesome. Marvin's a good dude. He takes care of Bluff City Wrestling, and man, every week they're trying to put something bigger and better in there, and the show just gets bigger and better. Just another guy that I love to have around and hang around and pick his brain with a lot of the stuff that he does behind the scenes, and he does a lot. He does a lot behind the scenes for Bluff City, and I enjoy it. Good dude. So he's always welcome on the show. And man, that's a good show. Another long show today. We got to talk a lot, but you figure with just a few football games, that's like, oh, this will be a quick show. But
but when you add another dynamic in there, you get more takes on stuff. And
Yeah.
it's not just
it's not
us
just
and our
sitting here.
voices and
I know
our opinions on it.
it's tough because we see things a lot of the same way. So it's nice to have another dynamic in there. It's just funny it happens to be another Cowboys fan. That was not planned. Some people just have good taste. They just do. They just have good taste. So, Marvin, we appreciate it, guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And look, I've got new things we're developing for the show. You'll see a little bit more bells and whistles next week. I am working on the graphics as much as I can right now. So I will get those done, and we'll get that set up. Stay tuned for all of our other shows we have. We've moved Bottom Card booking to Sunday nights. So just be prepared for that. We had a great show last night. We really enjoyed doing that. So Sunday nights, I think, will be our new home for that. Missing Mysteries will be coming. I think we're going to do that on a Thursday night. I'm not sure, Wednesday or Thursday night. I'll get with the guys. Bringing that show back. Muddy River Music will be coming back. I've got a couple of guests already lined up for those shows. I'll let y'all know when the premiere dates are for. A lot of things happening on Undefined Radio. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, it's JC, it's Chad. We'll see y'all soon.